Today I'll be showing you how I made this cushion and matching throw. The fabric I'll be using is a linen tablecloth that I dyed with onion skins. I have a video on that whole process which I'll have linked below. Starting with the cushion, I drew up a rectangle measuring 54 centimeters by 32 centimeters. I then cut the rectangle out and folded it in half. Taking the folded rectangle, I placed it on the fabric to trace. I measured in another 4 centimeters and cut it out. I then repeated this again but added 7 centimeters instead of 4 centimeters. Taking the first rectangle, I drew a chalk line down the center. I then placed fabric number 2 on the rectangle. I measured 1 centimeter in and then another 3 centimeters. I then did the same measurements on fabric number 3. Next, I folded both of the fabric pieces using the lines as a guide and ironed them flat. Once pressed, I placed fabric number 2 down first. It should line up with the center line on rectangle 1. I then placed fabric number 3 on top. The folded piece should overlap fabric number 2. Here I'm showing where the Velcro will be attached. I'm cutting the Velcro to size and pinning where it will go. For fabric 2, I'm pinning the Velcro 4.5 centimeters in, and for fabric 1, I'm pinning 1.5 centimeters in. I then stitched them on with my sewing machine. Then folded the fabric back along their fold lines and stitched along the inner and outer sides. To make the cushion fringe, I marked in a strip measuring 5 centimeters wide and 60 centimeters long. I then measured a 1 centimeter seam allowance and pressed it over twice and stitched along the inner edge. I used the head of a needle to pull the threads out, pulling the horizontal threads downwards, leaving the vertical threads exposed, creating the fringe. Next, I cut the fringe into 2 pieces and stacked them on one another. I then stitched a diagonal line and cut off the excess fabric. I added a pin to mark the center of the rectangle. I then measured 12 centimeters outwards and pinned the fringe, making sure the tip of the bottom corner of the fringe lines up with the top line. Then doing the exact same thing on the other side. I then pinned the center of the fringe down and stitched the fringe to the rectangle. Here I'm placing and lining the back pieces to the front, right sides together, then stitching around the entire edge. After I had stitched the edges, I clipped the excess off the corners. Doing this helps you get a nice crisp corner when turning it inside out. I then opened the Velcro and turned the cushion inside out. For the stuffing, I used a chopped up pillow I had left over. Moving on to the throw, I cut a rectangle measuring 62 centimeters by 145 centimeters. I'm then just cutting off the finished edges. I measured in 10 centimeters, then another 6 centimeters. I then pinned the lines together and stitched along the drawn-in line. I then pressed the folded section flat and stitched along the outer edges. To create the fringe below, I marked in 5 centimeters. Then again, using the head of the pin and working in sections, I pulled the horizontal strings out, leaving the vertical strings to create the fringe. I found as I finished each section that trimming the excess horizontal threads made it easier to pull the next section down. Once I was finished, I repeated the same steps on the other end of the throw. I then marked in 3 centimeter strips. I cut out 2 at 100 centimeters in length and 5 at 62 centimeters in length. I then frayed 1 centimeter on both edges of every strip. Taking the throw rectangle, I folded it in half and added pins to either side of the fold line. I then measured 20 centimeters and then 40 centimeters from the center pin and added pins. I did the same on the other half of the throw. I then pinned the 5 strips where I had placed my pins. Moving on to the edges of the throw, I placed pins at 10 centimeter increments. I then took one of the longer strips and folded it in a zigzag pattern and pinned it down as I went. I then stitched all of the strips down. To finish the throw, I pressed the sides over 1 centimeter and stitched them down. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hope you have a beautiful and creative day. Bye for now.